Hello, I'm Charlotte and this is Charlotte Lucy Love. It is most definitely my favourite season now. It is autumn and I couldn't be happier for the cosier nights we're having. But today I'm coming to you with my September wrap up. So a couple of stats for you first. In September I read 9 books and DNF'd 2 books. This was 2 5-stars, 4 4-stars, 2 3-stars and 1 2-star. So a little bit of an up and down month with an average star rating of 3.77. My absolute favourite book of September was Stay Another Day by Juno Dawson, which you should be seeing this on the 10th of October and the book comes out on the 14th. Would highly recommend pre-ordering this one. And at the end of September, my physical TBR stands at 846 books and I'm currently reading a further 8 books. My NetGalley TBR stands at 93 books with a NetGalley percent of 59%. I'm going to start reporting those numbers at the end of each month, and I was going to try and do a little bit of a drinking by my shelf, balancing the books, but that's a lot of pressure at the moment. So I'm just going to note it each month and just see where we go. And so into the vlog style wrap up.
Good morning. It definitely feels like autumn today. It is the 2nd of September and I am freezing. Doesn't help that I woke up and that lovely man that I share a bed with had stolen all of the duvet. So anyway, first book of September finished yesterday. I finished Talk Bookish to Me by Kate Bromley, I believe. And this book was kindly sent to me from NetGalley and it had so much potential. In the beginning, I really loved this book. We're following, I literally finished yesterday and I can't remember what the main character's name is. That is just typical me. Anyway, our main character is a author and she is struggling to get her book finished, and at a wedding party she runs into an ex-boyfriend and he ends up coming to stay with her and it goes from there. Now, some of my favourite things about this book were that firstly, because she was a writer herself, sorry I've got sleep in my eyes, it is that early in the morning. Because our main character is an author herself, she is writing like a historical, like Regency romance. So we get chapters from that as well, which I absolutely loved because it was like 2 for the price of 1. And also there's these really great descriptions of bookshelves and books and things she loves about books. There's a passage in it where her mum is really into fitness and things like that, and she keeps trying to push it on our main character, who she talks to her mum at one point about how what her mum loves isn't necessarily what she loves, and that's okay. But that's where the positives end. I don't want to spoil this, but if you know my tastes well, there's a trope in it that doesn't come in till about, I'd say 80% through, which it's a trope that I really don't like. And after that, I just got a little bit bored. Also, so it kind of started out as a 5-star when I went in. Most of my books, I try and start out a 5-star and then it loses stars if it doesn't live up to it. And there were quite a few references that were just really flippant about mental health. Right at the very beginning, again, don't quote me if these are in the finished copy, I don't know because it was an arc that I read, but if they're not, then this would take the book probably back up to a 4-star. But it had like, she's going to Italy and her editor says, oh, maybe there's an app that you can translate your suicide note into Italian. And it was just those kind of flippant references that did not need to be there and just left a really sour taste with me. And yeah, after this thing happened, I just got bored and skim read. So that's sitting probably around a 2.5 star, but I don't do half stars, so I will round that up to a 3. So it is the 5th of September, and as you can probably see, I'm not in my usual house. I am actually in a hotel in Dudley. If you haven't seen the vlog, I'll link it below. But last night I decided to DNF this book. This is Meet Me in Hawaii by Georgia Toffolo. I really loved the first book. I loved Meet Me in London, and I'm desperate to read Meet Me in Tahiti, so I thought I better read this one. But I've DNF'd it after about 100 pages because I think the word is inspiration porn, and I don't know whether it's just me, but basically Todd runs a charity for children who are disabled in some way or have had trauma, etc. And I just didn't like or get on with the whole premise of, oh, these poor children and look at what they can do now. That might just be me being miserable, but yeah, couldn't get on with that. So DNF'd it about a third of the way through. And that's what I've really got to say about it. It's not a bad book by any means, and the romance sounded like it was going to be fun. But yeah, I think it just makes me a little bit uncomfortable that this is written by somebody able-bodied, because I think it missed the point slightly. So it is the 15th of September, and I feel like in my last clip I was all ready for autumn, and now I am back into living my summer of 69 hippie dreams. In the last couple of weeks, I've finished 3 books and DNF'd 1 book. So we'll start with the DNF first. I've been really terrible at keeping up to date when I finish a book. So the DNF that I've got for you is actually called Always in December, and I can't remember the author, but I requested this off NetGalley because it was marketed as a timeless, heartbreaking story, and I was bored. Like, I was hoping this was going to go somewhere, and there was this real thing about a letter, and I thought, oh yes, this is going to break my heart. I got 40% in, and I was just like, this doesn't feel Christmassy despite it being set at Christmas. There is no chemistry between the 2 partners, and I just don't care about them. I did look because I thought, am I being harsh? Is this a debut author? But this author has written loads and loads in the romance genre. So no, that one got DNF'd at 40%, and I don't intend on picking it back up. The next book that I finished was Juno Dawson's Margot and Me. This is the second Juno Dawson book that I read, and I really wanted to give this a 5 star. Basically, the premise of this is our main character Margot goes to live in Wales on her grandma's farm with her mom, who's recovering from chemo. And this was just, Juno Dawson's books are so real. The main character is always a little bit problematic, as most teenagers are, but there's just this warmth and this love, and this book had me crying and crying with laughter. The only reason that it didn't get a 5 star, and as is the case for a lot of Juno Dawson books I've read, so I just wish that Juno Dawson would cut it out, there's always some kind of disparaging comment about somebody fat or somebody ugly, and it just doesn't need to be there. So I've said before about books, it's like a stone in my shoe. So it's a 5 star, a beautiful looking pair of shoes, but it just rubs me the wrong way. So that would be a 4.5, but I don't do half stars, so that's a 4. Also from Juno Dawson, I read again via NetGalley, Stay Another Day. Now, if you can look at this book without going, baby, if you got to go away, then you're a much better person than I am, because I just can't. Anyway, this book, again, I don't think it's quite, is it quite a 5? Do you know what? I think it's going to have to be a 5-star, because I 100% couldn't put this book down and finished it in about 2 days. It is a Christmas book with queer representation. It's not the queer fluffy romance that I'm still on the hunt for. However, we have a bisexual character who is perfect. We have, how do I put it without giving spoilers? We have people that have kind of internalized homophobia and should know better. We have a non-binary character, and we also have a character dealing with an eating disorder, which is in the content warnings at the beginning of this book. And it is just this, again, made me laugh, made me cry, representation of Christmas in a family with grown-up children who have all moved away from home, and all the intricacies of living with mental illness and bringing this cast of characters together for like that forced happiness on Christmas Day. And it just made me laugh. I just thought it was brilliant. So that is a 5-star. And the last book that I have literally started and finished today is George by Alex Gino. Now, I do know that the author has said something recently about how this should have been called Melissa's Story rather than George, so I'll try and find some links about that to leave below. But this, I just flew through it. It is the most brilliant middle grade. I said, no, actually it's not the best middle grade I've read this year, but it is up there. And it was just everything I wanted in a book today. I've been really struggling with my chronic illness. Don't let this fool you. I have had a bath today and it has drained me. It is about all I have done. And yeah, what more can I say about that apart from George knows that she's a girl and she doesn't understand why nobody else can see that. George's mom doesn't particularly handle things well, but George doesn't understand why they won't let her play Charlotte in Charlotte's Web at school, and with the help of her best friend Kelly, she wants to do something about that. And yeah, it's just such a gorgeous book. So that is all from me today, and I'll let you know when I finish something else. So it's the 23rd of September and I have finally finished another book. I don't know what is wrong with me. I just can't settle on one book, and it's not that I'm not enjoying them. It's just, I don't know. So I've just finished The Library of the Dead by TJ Colchi. I think I've said that right. And I will freely admit that for about 99% of this book, I had absolutely no idea what was going on, but I really enjoyed it. So it's a magical book, but set in our world, which I really enjoyed, because a lot of fantasy, I don't understand the world. So yeah, I think a lot of the reviews that I've read, if you're a massive fantasy lover, people have thought it was too basic, but for me it was perfect. I'm gonna give it a 4-star because the pacing was a bit off. Like, there was some bits that I was just like, what, you know. So, but yeah, set in Edinburgh. Don't know what else to say really. It is part of a duology, and if I'd have known that before I started reading it, then I would have probably waited until the second book was out. But yeah, I'm giving that 4-star. Good morning. It is the 29th of September and I'm just getting ready to film some videos. I've got a little bit of free time today, so I'm going to try and film a few in bulk. However, I finished 3 books yesterday, which makes it sound like I did a lot of reading yesterday. I didn't. I've just had a lot of books on the go for a long time, so I don't have much left of them. So the first one that I finished was The Borrowers. Now, Victoria's going to hate me for this, but it was okay. It was cute. I think if I'd read it when I was a child and it would have had that nostalgia factor to it, I would have liked it even more, but I really struggled to get through this one. I started reading it when we were in Oxford in October, and it's just not taken priority over my other reads. I've been in a bit of a weird headspace this month though, so it may not be the book, it may be me. It's a kind of it's not you, it's me situation. But yeah, there was nothing wrong with it. I just didn't feel gripped to pick it up, and for such a short book I should have flown through it, but I didn't. So sorry, Victoria. The next one that I read, and I read as part of my Cozy Blanket book club, where every month we read a cozy book. This is the first month of the book club, and you can join below. It's on my Patreon. All the info is in the description box. But we read Heidi Swain's Sunshine and Sweet Peas in Nightingale Square, and I really enjoyed this book. I'm gonna give it a 4-star. There were a few little there's a few diet culture references, but I was thinking about this the other day. So the things that make me DNF a book are ones that like act like being fat is the worst thing, whereas in this one it was more just little references to like they were going to start running and they were going to be naughty and have a cake instead. And yeah, it's a very, very fine line for me between what I like and what I don't. But so far I haven't read a Heidi Swain book that I haven't loved. She's got this way of creating these communities, and the way she writes, even if there's kind of story arcs that aren't my thing, I love them. This one especially, I love that there were gay characters that wasn't part of the plot. They were just here, queer, and enjoying their life. So this book follows our main character Kate, who I really didn't like for most of the book, but then she did warm to me nearer the end. And Kate is escaping an unlikable ex, and she leaves and goes to, is this Winbridge? This is Nightingale Square. Okay, so Heidi Swain has got a few series now that all kind of interlink. So her series that's got about 8 books now, I think, is the Winbridge series, and Kate's family lives in Winbridge, so they all link a little bit, but there's no kind of big spoilers. Apparently you don't have to read them in order, but I am trying to read them in order, and I'm waffling now. And this little community is just the friendships that form and everything that happens. I just want to go and live there. In fact, I wrote something down. I've been trying to keep notes while I'm writing this one so that I can talk to my book club about it. But literally on the 40th page, she was describing Nightingale Square, and it said a second-hand bookstore and a couple of well-stocked charity shops, and I was like, when can I move in? So yeah, that is that. Next month we will be reading the second book in this series, which is Poppy's Recipe for Life. So like I say, if you want to join in, details will be below. And then when we were in London, the vlog for this should be up already by now. If it is, I'll link it above. If not, it will be out soon. I was reading a lot of Christmas books. Being a booktuber, I like to get ahead of the releases so that I can weed out the bad ones and just tell you the ones that I loved. However, when we were in London, it was so warm and sunny that I decided that I needed to pick up a more summery book. And in the Oxfam charity shop, I picked up My Type on Paper, which I think I'm going to give this probably I'm going to give this a 4-star just because of the experience I had reading it. It's a YA, but I think it's a YA written for adults to be nostalgic. I don't know. There was a lot of it that, so basically it starts by this girl getting pied by text, dumped by text for those, you know, my age. And she's very dramatic about it. And I just totally saw myself when I got dumped by my first boyfriend. The world is over and she, you know,
just cannot go on. And then she does a quiz in a magazine. Now, if you're my kind of age, I'm 31, Sugar magazine, Bliss magazine. I used to love doing the quizzes like what would be your ideal man, what would be your ideal job, and all of this. And yeah, we kind of go from there. I just really enjoyed reading this. Don't get me wrong, it's not the most literary book. It's not the most inventive plot. It was very basic, but it just took me on a ride and I just bloody loved it. But now, today, it is raining, so I think I'm going to get back into my more wintry books. So I don't know if I'll finish any more books this month, but we will see. Good afternoon. It is the 30th of September today. It is the last day of September, and quite honestly, I am here for it. Still pretty warm, but it has been raining and I've just been reading for most of the day. I don't feel well again, getting a little bit fed up with my body now, but that's another story. So I have just been here. This is the less aesthetic angle of my book room compared to the one that you normally see, but yep, just thought I'd keep it real. I've come here today to talk to you about what is potentially the last clip of this vlog, to talk to you about books, and unfortunately it was a DNF, and this was The Christmas Escape by Sarah Morgan. Now, to say that last year's Sarah Morgan was one of my favourite Christmas books, this was just a complete letdown. I got about 40% in before DNFing it, so I kept thinking, come on, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better. But there were like 3 story arcs that all just, I think we were trying to get a lot of background on the characters, but it just didn't have any festive feel, and quite honestly I didn't care about any of the characters. And I feel awful saying that because this is someone's work, but for someone that's written as many books as Sarah Morgan has, honestly expected it to be a lot better. And there was just no magic. Like, they were planning a trip to Lapland, but I got 40% in without feeling any Christmassy vibes. And for a book that is specifically marketed as a Christmas book and called The Christmas Escape, I want Christmas from page 1, which is what I'm getting with a lot of the other Christmas books that I'm reading. And yeah, so I DNF'd it. So that was that. So those are all the books that I read in September. Please let me know down below if you read any of these and what you thought of. Also, let me know what has been your favourite book of September. And you never know, it might add to that already ridiculous TBR. I will hopefully be back on Sunday. I am trying to post videos every Wednesday and Sunday now. So until next time, look after yourselves. Bye.